Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about this book, The Binding, by Bridget Collins. So this video is going to be a bit more draggy than the rest because I read this book a few weeks ago. I don't remember exactly the bits and pieces I want to talk about, so I'm just rereading what I wrote in the notes app, and also it's like 1 a.m. So forgive me if this video is a bit longer than the rest. Okay, so let's get started. The Binding, I got this book as a blind date with a book. So you didn't know what it was. You don't know how it looked like. All it said was a little points, and I don't remember it saying anything about romance. Maybe I did. Maybe I just tore it open. I'm not really sure. But it's a fantasy romance book. I didn't know it was a romance. I just thought it was general fantasy. Uh, but it's a romance. And it gets really obvious that it's a romance at the middle. Okay, at the start it is quite obvious also, but I wasn't, like, my mind was going off of the fact that it was a fantasy, so I didn't really care about it. But okay, let me break it down to you. This guy, Emmett, he is a binder, which in this world are like kind of witches or something that can help bind people's memories into books to make them forget, and also just as a thing, right? So Emmett is an apprentice for this other binder, and suddenly this mysterious guy comes to him and he looks at him all like, and he's like, you remember me, don't you? Like, please say you remember me. And then he gets escorted out. So after you find out that binders bind memories into books and that whole interaction happened, I'll give you a second to guess what the plot is and who the main interest is. Okay, great guesses. They're all probably very correct. Whatever. So, yes, this is an LGBT book. Very surprising because, well, I guess not surprising, but very surprising for me because I really wasn't expecting it. Um, I would say in terms of LGBT books I've read, this is probably the best one. But to be fair, I've only read like two other ones, and one of them is not even actually romance. One of them was Red Fox, Black Leopard, Red Leopard, Black Leopard, this one, and the other one was like Aristotle and Dante and whatever. I actually did not like Aristotle and Dante. I thought it was quite boring and also kind of normal. I read it a few years ago, and the only thing I remember from it is that there was a pool and a guy got in a car crash. Sorry for spoilers, but this whole video is spoilers. But yeah, that's Aristotle and Dante. I don't really like the dynamic anyways. I think it's a bit bland. But let me tell you, this book has like every single cliche under the sun, and that's not a bad thing, I would say. It's for me because I'm not exposed to these things before. This is the first time I actually read an actual romance book. I'm excluding Aristotle and Dante. So having these cliches, at least for me, I don't think it's overdone because this is my first time, so I don't care about it. But I think it's really nice. I think really sweet. So yeah, let's run through it. So, as I said, Emmett is a binder. In this world, binders aren't, at least in the outskirts of town, they aren't well received because obviously you don't take someone's memories, okay, and that's a very evil thing to do. But in the actual city, in the main city, they're more common practice, and binders just get things done for money, and sometimes they illegally sell the books to other people. But that is background stuff. Okay, so Emmett under apprentice, he also gets sick often, and that's why he went under the apprenticeship because his family's like, we don't want you anymore, which really reminds me of that BTS trope, which is like, I'm selling you off to BTS. um that aside, the encounter happened, and then for everyone who, not yet, uh exposition, his master dies. Not relevant at all. His master, not relevant at all. She just dies. And then because of that, he has to be taken under by his master's acquaintance. They're not friends, acquaintance. He's a nasty guy. I wouldn't say that he's the villain, but he is a nasty guy. So, anyways, he's now under new management basically, and because of that he now has to move to the city. So that's all fun and games. During the moving process, the acquaintance has to clear out the stuff, and during the clearing out process and getting all the old books that his old master did got commissioned to do, he sees the name Lucian Derny. Everyone who guessed that the mysterious guy that looked at him and said, "Do you remember who I am?" to be the love interest, you're correct. So, anyways, that is Lucian Derny, and then we then figure out that Lucian Derny is comes from the Derny family, which is a very rich and wealthy family. So we got the rich and poor dynamic there. Very fun. So that is that. Emmett at this point doesn't know who Lucian Derny is. He just sees that name. He's like, "You're that weird guy, and I can't stop thinking about you. I don't know why, but I can't stop thinking about you." His first job under new management is to coincidentally go to the Derny household and then do a binding there. We don't know who, we don't know what. It's just like do a binding there. Emmett doesn't know Lucian Derny, and Lucian Derny doesn't know Emmett. So at this point, it's kind of like you as a reader, it's kind of oh my god, it's so coincidental that he has to do something there. He goes there, he does something there, and then after his binding to one of the servants in the household, Lucian comes in. He's smoking. He's drinking. He's like, "I don't like you." Jing Jang, big reveal. Rich people suck. Lucian reveals that his dad has been paying the Hyven or something. Insert like pretentious rich French name here, which is the apprentice. I'm gonna just call it the Hyven. I forgot his name, but he com Lucian's dad commissions the Hyven to erase the memories of the servants just so his dad can like them again and again and again. So it's like a torturous cycle, and also the dad gets the book, so it's also like pleasurable for him to reread the torture that he done for the servants. So that's the whole shtick, and Lucian is like, "I hate you guys because you guys are contributing to this vicious cycle, and all you care about is money." And Emmett's there being his first time working with these things, first time ever doing a binding, by the way, because his old master like did not want him to do anything. All he did was make books. Never like actually talked to a person before, never even saw the process happen, so he doesn't even know what's happening. But he does the binding, it works out. Lucian comes in, just like rams on him, and like just like complains about how he hates him and also his like whole work. And then, and then, Lucian figures out Emmett's name, Emmett Farmer, and Lucian's like, "Wait a minute, I've heard that name before. I've seen that name before." He looks around, pulls up a book from his father's collection that he like took from that something is one of the collections. He sees the name Emmett Farmer. Emmett loses his mind. He's like, "I've been binded. Is that why I'm sick all the time?" It is why he's sick all the time. There's a thing called binder's fever apparently, and it's when binders get binded and then they get sick. So he's like, "I need that book. I need that book now." They go on a little squabble. They wrestle for a while, and it ends with the book being burned in the fireplace. And as the book burns, the memories just floods Emmett, and he passes out. At this point of the book, we get set to a flashback, right, of Emmett's past. And this is where the romance happened. It's not a great past, but this is where the romance happens. So, we get reintroduced to Emmett's sister, Alta. And they are poor, they're farmers, but they're happy. You know, they do farmer things like harvest crops. So, one day, Emmett and Alta went out to the woods as one does to go on this abandoned ruins, And then they see this mysterious guy who Alta immediately falls for. This mysterious guy being Lucian. And Alta being like 15 or something and madly in love, she throws herself in a lake just to be saved by the mysterious guy, which he does save. And because of that, Alta's like, oh my god, you really love me. And Emmett, being, rational, hates Alta for that and also hates the guy for, I guess, various reasons. But he just doesn't like the whole interaction, which is fair. If I was him, I would also be like, dude, why did you. Love can do many weird things. So, that is how Lucian Darnay got introduced to his life. And as the days go by, more time has been spent. Lucian has been spending more time with the family, and their parents are kind of like, if Alta marries Lucian, it'll be really good because he's really rich and we kind of need it. So, Emmett, you better do something. You better support them. But Emmett hates Lucian for no reason, actually. Just hates him. And also, he's like, you're going to take advantage of my sister because you're like 19 and she's like 15. So, obviously, take caution, take care. So, that's the whole shtick. And just, just like, then it gets to a point where Emmett starts to open up to Lucian more, to be more accepting. I guess that happens to every single person that you're around quite often. Even if you hate them at the start, you kind of like open up to them, and then that happens because it's been a few weeks, and you never see the turning point until like they started waltzing together. They have this like side eye moments every single time they're in a room together because they have to be because Alta's there. So then they had a waltz together because Alta's like, Lucian, you know how to dance. Teach me to dance for our wedding day. And then Emmett's there being like, oh my god, I want to get out of here. And then Alta's like, haha, you should learn too. Lucian, go help him. Go teach him to waltz. And then they look at each other and they're like, and they do. And then you can guess where the story goes. Enemies to lovers. There's another trope. Isn't that lovely? Now, I want to make clear that Lucian never actually gave any clear signs to be actually interested in Alta the whole time, which is great, by the way, which is great. She's like 15. And Emmett also realizes this. Emmett's like, Lucian has never really seen Alta or has ever made a move on Alta. It's always been just Alta being Alta and being like, oh my god, you love me so much. While Lucian has always been like, haha, yeah. And also Lucian just like bought these gifts that are customary for lovers and he gave them to Emmett. He also gave one to Alta, but he also gave one to Emmett. So that's a thing. Suspicious. If I was Emmett, I would have been suspicious. But I'm not. And it's all very obvious. Okay, so you can guess what the source goes. I'm going to give you a second to guess what is happening. If, okay, if you guessed that Emmett wants to steal Lucian from Alta, you are correct. And that is exactly what happened. Now, I'm not saying that the protagonist has to be morally correct. And I'm not saying that Lucian should have been with Alta. But come on, man. If you had a little sister, and your little sister loves your friend, and is madly in love with your friend, it's not really your friend, madly in love with the person. They're not friends, by the way. Madly in love with the person. You don't go off and steal the guy, okay? Whatever happens between you guys, you don't go off stealing the guy. And if you do, you talk to your sister first. Um, so he did not talk to them, to her. Instead, he just like did it on the down low. the whole time, and I was just waiting for the time for the point where she finds out, because obviously she finds out, and obviously this ends with him being like his memories being stolen, being taken away. Um, moving on from Emmett and his weird decision, his, I would say, bad decision to do this, man. Like there are better ways to do this, which I think would not lead to you getting your memory erased, but he did what he did. Okay, we then find out that Lucian has been sent off to this nowhere place out in the middle of the woods because he's gay or something. I take it as because he's gay because his father doesn't like that, which makes sense. Um, and we also figured out that this is not a one-off thing. This happened many times, and they have a whole protocol for it. Right. The Derny household will go to the families and bring a guy there to be like, we're so sorry that Lucian has done this. Please do not ever take this out with the public. We will compensate you by erasing all your memories and giving you a large sum of money. And guess what the farmers did? They took the large sum of money. And that is why both Emmett and his sister got their memories erased. Okay, very funny by the way, actually. I want to uh, bring this up. That like it's just so embarrassing how they got him to agree or to erase the memories. Because obviously, Emmett being the way he is, he does not want his memories erased. Fine, fine. Guess what they did? Textbook like textbook kidnapping. They wrote on a gift pretending to be Lucian to be like, meet me at this place at 12 a.m. I still love you. They did this for both Alta and Emmett, and it's so damn embarrassing because they met each other at midnight, and Emmett like oh my god. I'll see if I can bring the page up. Here's the page. That's embarrassing. Can you believe that? I would not do that. I would have been caught dead saying that. And then they had to take the carriage to the binder together. That's awful. Good thing they forgot that. That whole scenario. I think I want to get that memory specifically erased from my head because that's just embarrassing for both parties. Okay, that's over. Now to the present. The rest of the book is just Emmett knowing this information and wanting to get Lucian's memories back. And that's it. That's grossly simplifying it because that is like a whole 200 pages of getting his memory back. But that's the general gist of it. So, good things. I'm not going to be talking about like specifically any dialogue because I think that's cringy, but also like cringy in a good way. You know, love is always cringy and you can't fault people for that. Um, but I will say it's refreshing to see these types of books, to actually read this type of book when I wasn't expecting it at all. Um, like I said, the tropes kind of funny that is so on the nose. Rich and poor, enemies to lovers, get sold out to BTS. Very funny, very fun. I think that's the beauty of the romance novels. You know, it's you don't have to really dig deep for anything, and I can't really. Is like the plot is the romance, so there's gonna be plot holes, and there are a lot of plot holes, by the way. But I'm just saying, it's like I enjoyed the book. So everything that comes after this is just me talking for the sake of talking. Keep that in mind. Here's a really corny part of the book, right? Ignoring the like obvious lover's gift that Lucian got Emmett and also Alta at the start of the book, Lucian got him an engagement ring. And guess what he wore at the end of the story when he went to retrieve Lucian's book? The same engagement Okay, corny things over. Let's look at the actual plot holes, or just like pieces of story that didn't really get tied in together, especially at the start. Like I said, I thought it was a fantasy book, and there wasn't anything that really pushed me to think that it wasn't, because at the start there was a lot of fantasy and there was a lot of building up. Remember the master that died? She had dementia for like 2 days and then she died the third. During the 2 days, she's been saying really mysterious things, especially the last conversation they had. She like thought that Emmett was, I assume, another apprentice. And I thought it was gonna go, I don't know. I wish we learned more about her. All we know is that she's like a one off, like a lone binder in the woods. We don't know about this mysterious apprentice, this mysterious pre apprentice before Emmett, but she seems to really like them. And she's also like, how's your first binding? Oh, stuff, wasn't it? Like, yeah, things like that. I don't know. It's here. But I'm just saying, I really wish there was more to that. Right. It seemed really interesting. And also, there's this point where these anti-binders came to her house and they threatened to burn it down. And then Emmett, like, I don't know, got possessed by the god of the rain or something, and then made things rain, and then the fire went out. I don't know how that happened. Okay, I'm just saying the god of rain, but that's not real. Apparently, that's not real. It's just so coincidental that, like, some during that time, like, something took over him, and it spoke for him, being like, never play with the binders. And also, it just started raining, and we never got explanation for that. His master was like, yeah, we're not witches. We don't deal with spells and everything. All we do is bind memories. But we it was never explained how he did that. How Emmett like brought rain down and how Emmett like spoke, but he didn't speak. Very funny, very interesting. Emmett is another case. Like I said, I don't expect protagonists to be lovable like 100%, and he has his flaws. He has his let me steal my sister's boyfriend flaws, right? But also he's like weirdly evil. He's he's really evil. In this last part where he went to get retrieve the book, retrieve Lucian's memories, right? Because Lucian also got his memories erased. Remember that time where he went to he has memories erased, and then he wants to retrieve Lucian's book. Lucian's book is inside the household of another rich guy, and they have to get to inside his library. To get there, he has to go through the maid, the like housekeeper that answers the door because the guy's out of town. And during that time, he straight up threatens the maid to have her memories erased. He's like, if you don't let us in, I'm a binder. I can erase all your memories. Dude, this poor maid, she's not getting paid enough. She literally even says, I'm not getting paid enough for you to come in. Like, I'm gonna get more stuff thrown at me if I let you in than if I don't buy my actual, like, uh, boss. And instead of like being like, okay, we'll find another way, maybe sneaks in the back, he straight out threatens her and is like, I can do whatever I want with you. Let us in, lady. And this girl loses it. She's like, oh my god, please don't take my memory. I'll let you in. Dude, the emotional turmoil that he like brought upon this poor lady for no reason, by the way. And he just seems so okay with it. The writer knows it's weird because Lucian then talks to him. He's like, no way you're actually gonna do that, right? Like that's crazy. And Emmett, or maybe the writer is trying to like lessen the blow. Emmett's like, of course I wasn't. Technically, I can't even. I physically can't because you have to give consent for a binding to happen. I think that's a very weak point because it doesn't matter whether you can or not. The girl doesn't know that. The lady doesn't know that. All she knows is that for the next moment, she could just have her whole memory erased. And it's like, it doesn't matter whether you can or not. You threatened her, and she literally felt like she was gonna die. So, I don't know how to deal with that. I really don't know how to deal with that. Lucian, on the other hand, he is a guy. He is a coward at heart, and he literally says it by himself. He's like, anyone who voluntarily goes to get their memories binded are cowards. Next scene, he gets his memory binded. So, very obvious. Like, the writer was not trying to beat around the bush or anything. It's straight there. And even at the end, he was supposed to get married to this other rich lady. His family set him up. He was supposed to get married for each other rich lady. He stood her up at the altar. And there is no like redemption for her. He just stood her up. Like what are you what like that's crazy. These people are doing crazy things for the name of love. And I don't know, guys. Is this how it is? Being in love? That's crazy. I would never stand someone up on the altar. And I would never threaten someone to get their memories erased. Just saying. So that was the book. I would love to be more expressive about how much I do like the book. I do like it. It's just most of my like comes from the cringy love parts, and I don't want to be cringy with love. So just know that it was sweet. Their banter on and off was nice. Um, so that was the binding. Yeah.